real quick before we start the video, I don't have any sponsors or anything, but I do have a clothing brand that I started recently. It's called MWIII. The theme behind it is kind of shirts that are, there might be kind of a joke involved. It might be kind of funny, but not, obviously like, oh, I paused my game to be here, this really silly, cringe stuff like that. And I also try to use pictures that I've taken either myself or conceptualized myself and hired an artist to work with. I do have some phone cases on there too, primarily doing t-shirts and hoodies. So yeah, give it a look if you're interested. It's plxumi.com. Thank you. So we just wrapped up with the XDefiant public server test. We're getting closer finally to the game launching. I've actually been looking forward to this game for a while. I played the beta back in June. Was pleasantly surprised. I had no expectations for this game. I think a lot of people felt the same way. Like when it was first announced, I think it was last year or year before. It was like, oh, a crappy, weird, brightly colored graffiti shooter game. I really wasn't. We didn't really have an idea what they were trying to do with this. But I think Mark Rubin, I believe his name is, he and his team have done a good job establishing a framework for a game that people want to say it's going to be the Call of Duty killer or Call of Duty competition for this year. I feel like that's just the wrong mindset to go about it, because it really is like its own thing at this point. It plays more like a... Obviously, Mark Rubin worked on Call of Duty in the past, so it plays like an older Call of Duty, a little bit more of the Black Ops side of things, which, good or bad depending on your taste. For me, it's a good thing. I've been kind of like jaded about Call of Duty for a few years now. Despite me putting a ton of hours into Modern Warfare 2019, I just haven't had... none of the games since then have really stuck with me. And the only reason why 2019 did is because it was like in the height of COVID. I had some friends I was playing online with like every day because I couldn't go to work, couldn't do this, couldn't do that. So there's like strangely some good memories associated with that game. A lot of frustration as well though. And then, the birth of Warzone, which has completely thrown a wrench into how Call of Duty is developed and thought of as a product. So I'm hoping XDefiant, with its focus on arena shooter gameplay, is going to be something that is a little bit more appealing to people who play Call of Duty for Call of Duty. I feel like people who play Warzone primarily, which I don't know a ton of people who do that, they're a totally different audience. And for Activision to kind of pull resources away from the main multiplayer as much as they have has just been terrible. And that's why a lot of people feel like me. They just feel like abandoned, or we just feel like a mark. It's like, oh, we got this free-to-play Warzone, now we're going to start throwing a bunch of $30 bundles in your face all the time. When, if you bought the $70 game, which is $70 now, you shouldn't have to be bothered with all that stuff. But anyway, I got a few notes here just about the XDefiant. Not a ton has changed since the beta, so if you missed out on this because you play on console primarily, you haven't, don't worry about it. You didn't really miss a whole lot. I do feel like the time to kill, I do remember it being pretty quick when I played the beta, but I don't remember it being this quick. And I can't remember if I mentioned this already, but I was playing on PC, obviously, when I'm normally a console player. So I was using a controller just because I can't like learn how to play FPSs now, when I only had a limited amount of time to experiment with the game. I might try to make the transition once the game actually comes out, but I was playing with an Xbox controller, and I feel like I had a couple games that did okay, but there were no games that did actually really good. Like everybody else they just have that advantage, obviously. Back when I played in June, it was a much more balanced experience because I think a lot more people were playing with controllers. So it was frustrating at times because I kept getting beat in gunfights, but with what I was working with, that's just going to happen. There were some hit detection things I was kind of bummed about. It's that classic, situation where you're in a gunfight, you run behind the wall, and somehow you still die. Like that's happening a lot more than I would want. It's something that just seems to happen. It's most likely just based on connection, but it still jumped out at me, like just because of how frequently it happened. There's some minor graphical glitches just with the characters, sometimes the menus weren't loading correctly, like there'd just be missing words, or at the end of a match, I think there was one match my character was acting like he was holding a gun, but he wasn't. There's no gun there. I think that stuff will get ironed out pretty quick. It is strange that we're seeing stuff like that days before launch, but that's something that it's not a huge deal. They can iron it out. And to be fair, Modern Warfare 2 had way worse graphical glitches, and when it came out initially, and they still have them to this day. Some of them are still there. They still haven't fixed it. $70 game. The maps are okay. There's a couple that I really like. Some that are just I'm kind of whatever on. I'm not sure how many maps they're gonna have at launch. I forget. But the ones I've played have been pretty decent. Not a whole lot of doors. They're kind of more just your typical 3-lane maps with like some kind of centerpiece to run around or run through. It's about what you would expect from a Black Ops era Call of Duty, which is what I want. So the maps aren't bad. I haven't had any like I love either, but those I might find that out at launch, which ones I really like, and I just need more time with the game. The characters, one thing I did while I was playing, one thing I kept doing was like I'd have a teammate run up on me, and because all the characters are the same essentially on both sides, there's no visual difference other than an outline of the team color. I feel like there should be some kind of customization for the characters, and I imagine this might be something they add into the game at launch or when seasons come out and you start grinding battle passes or whatever. Just playing the server test, and I remember the beta before too. It's like everybody's playing, the chick from Far Cry or the Splinter Cell people, so they all look the exact same. And if you have like a split second to react, you're not gonna necessarily see the outline. That's more of a minute detail. What you're gonna see is the shape of the body. You're gonna see the hair. You're like, oh, and you start, you blind fire, and it's like, oh, that's your teammate. Not a huge deal. Definitely something that I feel like they're gonna fix, but that's just something that stuck out to me. So hopefully, once you start playing the game, you can unlock like more hairstyles. Or I just wish I could make my own character in these games. I'm willing to accept that it's a hero shooter. That's just how it's going to be. But I mean, there's something nice about just having your own like default character that you can customize and edit. And didn't really have a lot of personality. The personality. Speaking of personality, it's kind of it's something that they're trying to do to stand out with the Ubisoft characters being like the announcers, as well as the characters themselves speaking. It's Ubisoft, so it's kind of cringe, but I feel like that's another thing you can just turn off. You don't necessarily need it, and it serves its purpose. It's not bad. Again, none of these things are making me want to quit the game or not give it a shot when it comes out on October 1st. But it's just something that I'm noticing. That it's just, especially the Watch Dogs. It's like the millennial, and I know that's just the style, of the game. It's just I wasn't really feeling it too much. I'm still experimenting with the characters. I've been mostly playing. I actually found out I've enjoyed playing with the spider for DedSec, the spider equipment. I mean, a lot of people are still playing the healer from Far Cry. A lot of people are still playing the Splinter Cell character with the invisibility. There needs to be some kind of balance. I feel like it's going to be like this for a while until the meta changes. Like people are just not going to pick the other characters. They have to provide some sort of utility, or people are just going to keep picking the ones where you can heal. I feel like every character should have like kind of like like we've gotten used to in Call of Duty, where you just hit the left bumper or whatever button it is on PC. You just after a gunfight you can heal with like, equipment. There needs to be some kind of equivalent for that. I think that's what everybody's used to. That's what instinctually I do every time I get out of a gunfight. I'm like, okay, I want to heal. So yeah, I think people are prioritizing that over the actual character abilities. So it's like just for that standard of gameplay. But there's still more characters to come, more factions to come, and that's the whole point of the game, is to have the factions. Otherwise, the game wouldn't exist. So I can understand why they probably want to keep everybody around and keep adding more Ubisoft franchises to the game. But overall, like I said, it wasn't bad. It looks good. It plays good. It doesn't feel like a next-gen game. I don't necessarily mean that in a bad way, but it's definitely free to play. It's definitely not. It's not receiving the budget that some of the competition is getting. But I think this game, well, it's not going to really aim to destroy Call of Duty or be the Call of Duty killer. I think it's still going to be a solid game, and I think there's going to be a solid fan base that sticks around, especially if they stay consistent with the communication and having, this is the reason why I want this game to succeed, the skill-based matchmaking being under control or non-existent in casual matches. I Call of Duty year after year. I try not to buy Call of Duty anymore if I can, but I still end up getting them in some way or the other every year. I'm never, like, I always feel like, man, if I could just play this game and enjoy it and not have to worry about being put against people who are just always above my skill level, then I'd still be a Call of Duty fan. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you. Just had a few observations and just wanted to give my thoughts on the game real quick. I didn't really write a script or anything, so that's why it's a little bit rambly. But let me know in the comments if you're going to play the game on October 1st, and maybe we can run a few rounds. Leave your friend code or friend name, your Ubisoft tag, whatever, however it's going to work. Yeah, and I might hit you up. We can run a few rounds together. Anyway, that'll be it for now. Take it easy.
Hey guys, this is Olivia Rodrigo, and I really want to tell you about this shirt I can't stop dreaming about. I'm aware that my name sounds kinda like the popular American singer-songwriter and actress Olivia Rodrigo, but I swear to God that I'm not her. I'm British, I'm British in it. I have a hard time saying wa'ul ba'ul, and I do be eating beans, no cap. So yeah, there's this shirt that I'm obsessed with from MWIII. You gotta see it. It's called the Hana Yoridan Go shirt, and it's got a couple of cool girls playing guitar over a backdrop of tulips. It's so fire. It's made out of cotton, which is like in my top 5 favourite materials for a t-shirt. I may be the AI-generated voice of a Zoomer girl, but I literally can't stop wearing this shirt. I wore it to Taylor Swift, and she saw me in the crowd and told me she liked it. I was like, yo! No way Taylor Swift just liked my Hana Yoridan Go shirt from MWIII, that's crazy. If you want to get one, just go to plxumi.com and follow all their socials. Hold up, there's actually a backpack version too. I'm gonna throw up. That's crazy. I'm going to call up that dude in his mid-40s who my parents don't know about and have him buy me one right now. Bye bye.